Welcome to the Reds Reviews podcast. We are brought to you by paperhead.com. Right now there is a promo for $3 for 3 months. That promo does include everything on the plate. It is a premium promo. So check it out at paperhead.com and let's get on with the Reds Reviews podcast. All right, guys, how you doing? This is Red. I just wanted to check in. Again, it is a new week. It is a new day, and there's been some developments across the board. We got the NBA rolling. We've had some MLB stumbles. There have been some issues over the last week or two. There's been some stuff with the NFL that's developed with more players opting out. And we have a special guest today again. He's been around a couple of times. You all remember Benny. I'm sure you enjoyed any content that you've heard from him before because he is in the trenches. He is with us doing these things every day, just like the rest of us. So I just wanted to say, hey, welcome to the show, Benny.
Thanks.
Yeah, it's good to have you back. It's been a minute. So two questions that started for me. I honestly have been paying attention to what's coming down the pipe for the casino stuff because it's been my saving grace throughout the process. And I do know that they have the poker, which has been pending for quite some time now. They told me about it about a month ago. And in the process of doing that, I've been kind of letting my players know that there's going to be some options for some new poker tables. And also there was a kind of like a break that I guess due to the COVID-19 shutdowns and stuff, they had to postpone live dealer action for a minute, which I actually noticed the volume drop. And also now they're talking about adding a new platform, which is good. So I mean, are you looking forward to the new platform at all? Is there anything that you've been hearing from your players about the casino itself? Have they been asking for more stuff?
Well, the live dealer, yeah. I mean, one of the games in the live dealer that I've had a couple of guys call me up about is they've got this thing called Casino Hold'em, and I've got guys that would go to Vegas and play at the Casino Hold'em tables, and it's kind of like Texas Hold'em, except a casino type format with a dealer and everything like that. And so they're excited about that actually. Um, but as far as live dealer is concerned, I mean these poker player or these casino players are going to keep playing the casino is what they're telling me. Even when the NFL starts and during the MLB and everything like that, um,
Yeah, I've
just
actually
because
noticed that.
guys play casino, they
Yeah,
they play those table games. So
it's interesting because over the last week when the NBA came back in, I actually noticed that my volume didn't go down as much as I anticipated. I anticipated like a 40% drop as soon as sports came back. I just did. And I don't know if maybe it's just because I have one or two guys that actually ended up playing a little bit bigger than anticipated in the casino. Because it's one thing to have a guy that just runs, a few blackjack hands and whatever, but when they start cranking and they're playing all the different tables. They're playing roulette and asking for higher limits and so it's been a pleasant surprise to see that hasn't fallen off immediately when the sports came back because we've had a week of actual NBA games and so as we move forward through that, that's the next thing that I wanted to talk about. I mean, it's killer that we're gonna have some other options in the casino, and that'll be able to hold that money maker in place as well as the new poker stuff. Um, but at the same time, I'm looking forward to the football. I'm looking forward to the continued games in the NBA as things heat up and we get closer to the actual playoff scenario that they built for this in the bubble. And one of the interesting things too, like the articles talking about the MLB and having to have stricter protocols and the outbreaks that have been going on, St. Louis and in the Marlins. And what do you think worst case scenario that would happen? Let's say that I don't know, 6 teams, all are in their panic mode where they've got 5 players that have it and then they're like, well, we got to test everybody again because they do the testing. This is what I don't understand. They do the testing literally almost every day.
right.
And then how do these players manage to get out? Well, like isn't there some kind of sense of responsibility you guys think that they should have mentally if they're making millions of dollars to play this in that format? And what do you think the worst case scenario is? Do they shut the MLB down or do they just continue to roll it?
They don't shut it down. I mean, I'm probably a little bit older than you, and so I remember like MLB strikes and NHL strikes, and the NFL strike and stuff like this that happened in the '80s. And at the end of the day, these are sports leagues, and we shouldn't let everything that's going on the political side, um, cloud that fact, right? In a sports league, and what they do is that they put on games and they make money from fans off those games. And the best way to make money nowadays is to have a gigantic television contract. And those television contracts is what pays for all of these exorbitant, gigantic salaries. And so if worse comes to worse, the great thing about Major League Baseball, and we forget this because I don't think a really good movie about the minor league baseball has come out since Bull Durham in the '80s, right? So we
Mm-hmm.
forget that they have these huge minor league systems, and yes, they had to shut all of that down this year because of COVID. But these guys can still play baseball. I mean, it takes a while for a baseball player to really hit his peak. He's more like a golfer than like an NFL than a football player
Yeah,
or
that's
basketball
definitely true.
player in the sense that these are very specific skills. Like he's got like less than 2 seconds to decide if he wants to swing at a fastball, as an example, right? And less than a second in some cases with the way that these guys throw, up in the '90s or whatever. So all of these minor league players, they'll just start slowly, moving them up. I mean, if they got to sit a guy for COVID, then that's what they're going to have to do. But there's no way, there's too much money involved, man. I mean, Red, there's no way that they could just cancel the season. It's just not going to happen.
Yeah, and considering it's also a shortened season anyway. I mean, they pulled a 60 game card, and so now we got only a certain amount anyway. And granted, 2021 will be here faster. I can't believe how fast this year has gone by in general. I mean, we sat for 5 months basically just in our houses for for this
Yeah.
process, and I am so happy that the sports are back and that things are moving forward. And I know some people might disagree with that opinion and they think, well, we should just shut it down. I can't believe I follow a lot of the big news sources on their sports pages, like their actual whatever MSNBC Sports, CBS Sports, or whatever it may be, like the subdivision of their main stuff, and the comments on there that I see from people, I don't know if they can consider themselves a sports fan when they're talking about canceling the season just because. And maybe it's because their team's garbage and they're not gonna go to the bubble or whatever. I don't know. I don't know what it is, but I just find it so interesting to me that when we're looking at how these things are developing and the way that they put these games together and push through and put new protocols into place and all the stuff that's involved with it, and then at the very core of it, of course, it's the money. How much money are these people losing by not running? And yeah, that's corporation, but what do you that's the nature of life. We all have to work. We all have to continue to work.
Yeah,
So
it's not just that, but I think a lot of people don't understand that, you're getting paid and I'm getting paid and we're making money from our companies, right? You know, and but it's all relative, right? So like the guy, I mean, yes, he's got a crazy salary, right? Let's just take a baseball player since we were talking about baseball. I mean, yeah, the pitcher's got a crazy salary. It's probably maybe it's like 25 million a year, right?
right.
But to him, that 25 million is something like 2,000 a month to us, right?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's all perspective. So if he's taking his 25 million and he's investing in it in stuff that's gone down this year, or because the stock market was in the crapper for a few months or whatever, and if he's got a mortgage, an insane mortgage, because he decided to buy the $20 million house, I mean, his 25 million isn't going to take him as far as people think. So he has a vested interest to get out there and to throw that baseball. And so I think that people misunderstand that it's all relative to your lifestyle and who you are and where you've already put your money.
Yeah.
So these players have a vested interest as well. So going back to what you said earlier in this conversation, if I'm a player, I'm not even worrying about or feeling guilty about the fact that I'm getting paid this amount of money to do my job. What I should be thinking is I need that money for
Hmm.
my lifestyle and my family and who I am. So I'm going to follow the rules. Even if I don't believe in them, I'm going to follow the rules because that's what my employer, Major League Baseball, has told me to do, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, it's an interesting dynamic. I guess the Eternals, I'm special thing is being shown in the particular types that are coming out. You got the guy that went to the strip club in the NBA, and he got a 10-day quarantine, which actually is just a ban because he didn't even get COVID. Um,
Yeah.
so it is what it is. I'm just looking at it in the perspective. I wanted to get an outside opinion on that. If they're going to shut the season down, then fine, but don't just prolong it and try to make it. Just do it or don't. Like the whole sensationalizing of it and going that route. I don't think they're going to. My stance on that. I don't think they'll do it. I think that since it's rolling, they're just going to roll it until maybe the health minister, Fauci gets in there and tells them they can't. I have no idea how that's going to play out, but
Well, Fauci just said, I think yesterday or the day before, that kids should go to school, that there should be in-person learning. So, I
well,
mean, it's very difficult for Fauci to come up with something about any of these sports leagues when he seems to be moving towards the idea of doing more things in person. So
well, it has
hopefully
to be
that
done
holds.
eventually. That in particular is what I wanted to talk about next is the school systems themselves, and I'm talking all the way down, regular elementary to high school to the college and the college sports themselves. In the case that I was just reading a few things about the Pac-12 and also the Big 12. It's what they're talking about is basically a shortened college football season and maybe having one external game to have like a difference in a scenario or follow some kind of regular season guidelines. But there's a whole other set of problems that I think are going to occur once these things do get rolling. I know that the college students themselves, like if I'm a guy and I'm gonna be able to go and play football and get seen and noticed and be on national television because these things are all on national television, I'm gonna go and play. I'm gonna take advantage of that fact, and it's a good thing. I think that a lot of these schools are coming around to it and going past the lawyer's suggestions, which is just stay shut and don't risk any contamination between anything or whatever. So it'll be an interesting thing to watch. I think that the conference games aren't going to be as fun to watch as when you get the interconference stuff, and there's the crazy games that don't really make sense when you get the titans of both conferences meeting each other, and we'll see how the actual championships end up playing. But I think it's also too, for the NFL's purposes on them looking at the MLB currently, how the MLB is handling the outbreaks and what that'll be, because there's going to be that in the NFL. There's going to be hot spots, particularly most likely at the Giants and the Patriots and anyone on the East Coast that are already struggling with the, I guess, pandemic more than other states. We'll see what happens with Florida, but when this starts rolling through, it'll be really interesting to see because the NFL is where all the money is. I mean, these other sports, yes, there is money involved, but in comparison, the NFL is like 10 times that when it comes to the actual revenues generated by these TV contracts and everything else. So,
Well, no, well, not yeah, not just that, but the NFL is. I mean, they're a marketing company. I mean, their whole point is to get their product out on the field. There's no way the NFL will cancel their season. There's just no way. They've already they're already working on and I don't know if they got this into the new the agreement with the players yet, but they're putting in some very strict like guidelines for
mm-hmm.
players in terms of what they do off the field. And that tells you right there that what the NFL is going to do is if a player doesn't follow the rules and a player is tested and the player comes up with a positive coronavirus test, they're just going to find a way to replace that player. I mean, there are thousands of guys in this country who are dying to get to the NFL just to get a chance. I mean, every team has a taxi squad. Every team has a Rolodex full of players that they brought in from training camps 5 years ago
Yep.
that they're going to call up. And I'm telling you, the NFL will not cancel. There's just no way the NFL is going to cancel. I don't even think they're going to go to a bubble situation. They're going to put the onus on the players to make that hard decision, which has happened with the New England Patriots. I mean, they've already got like 8 guys, and McCourty could end up being the ninth, I think, who decides to that he doesn't want to play this year.
That's just wild to me. Like,
It is.
I hear that and I think to myself, you're in a time frame of being a god among men, okay? And I put a lot of pedestal on that because of the way that the NFL works. But literally, there are more NFL players who are actually household names than any other sport besides the NBA currently, right? Because and people know about their names not because of their sports gaming, but because of their political stances in the NBA.
Exactly.
And
Yeah.
but in the NFL, you got 20, 30 years of these guys. Some of them are actually heroes, right? Like they ended up being sportscasters, and you see them in there, and you see the Shannon Sharps from the heydays back, and it's just I don't understand it. I don't understand how you can throw away the opportunity to be not only a genuinely motivational human being in your league and your sport, but a future motivational human being by being somebody who's a stand-up person in society when it comes down to it. It's just wild to me. The bigger
It
picture.
is. It's crazy. It's crazy. And what's crazy about that, I just want to say this very quickly, is that you take a program like Alabama, right? Going back to college football, you take a program like Alabama. Every person that plays for Alabama is either a 4-star or 5-star recruit.
Correct.
How many players on Alabama's squad end up in the NFL? And those that do end up in the NFL, how many end up starting?
Very,
That's how
very,
tough
very
it
few.
is to get that job.
Yeah.
That's how tough it is to get that job. So for players to basically say, hey, you know what? I'm not going to do this anymore. Those teams, especially somebody like Bill Belichick over in New England, right, is going to say,
Mm-hmm.
okay, fine. I'm going to find a way to get you off my team because I know a guy. I can go 10 deep to find guys who are dying to play, COVID or no COVID, right? So
100%.
that's what I'm going to do. That's what I'm going to do. The NFL has done it before. I mean, all they did was bring in new players.
Yeah.
When those guys went on strike, was it a bad product? It was a bad product, but guess what? People still showed up at stadiums and people still watched it on television. They still got the highest ratings
Yeah.
for the week. you know?
No, it's true. It's true. So again, I guess maybe I'm looking at it in a different perspective, just because I look at my own integrity and the way that I try to handle myself in my day to day business. Do I respect the things that are coming out from the health ministers and everyone else? Of course I do. Do I wear a mask? Yeah, because it's the polite thing to do for these people right now that actually do live in fear. And am I gonna go and risk putting any other people in danger just because? No, I'm not. But in the cases all these people are being tested and everybody's being they get free testing. Like I have to pay in order to know if I'm in danger to somebody else according to whatever they're saying. You know what I mean? And so it's I'm just grateful again that things are running and that people are starting to come around. All the math is starting to be really broadcasted. And if Fauci is actually starting to back the in-person school stuff, then maybe there is still a lot of hope for the other sports because not and I know college football is without football in the colleges there is no sports program. That's just the nature of the
There
of
are
the
no
beast.
colleges. There are no colleges.
you
No,
know.
seriously. I mean, for a school like USC, a private school, USC doesn't get money from. They're not supposed to. They're
Oh,
a
they
private
do.
organization.
They do.
Yeah, they do. But USC is the football program,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And and they use the football program to garner interest from the alumni for all the things that they want to do. Their business school, and you know, I mean, I learned this because I learned this when I was back at the University of Arizona because I sent a letter to the president and I was like, why are we paying $60,000 a year to make sure that this one room or this one building is at the same temperature every time,
Yeah.
you know? And then he explained to me the whole thing. He said, well, we get the money from the sports, we get the money from the Pac-12 for the sports. And then we use some of that money to satisfy the alumni. Then they send us the money, and then we use that building for research. And so it has to be at 60 degrees every day, no matter what. And this is in Tucson, where it gets up to like 110,
Yeah, it'll be
during
110,
the sun.
115 sometimes.
Yeah, exactly. It's crazy. But that's the way the college system works, right? So the colleges are in serious trouble if football doesn't come back. And if they have to cancel the NCAA tournament again, I mean, it's going to be a disaster for these schools, you know. It's just going to be a disaster.
I agree.
So,
I agree. Well, again, it's good to have you on the show. I just wanted to, get some other voices in there and talk a little bit about what's coming down the pipe. I do know that from the inside line that the poker's coming and that the live casino's coming, but thank God the sports are back. So
exactly.
you have
I, I'm
you have a safe day over there, and we'll probably be checking in with you in a little bit here again, just to see how things are rolling for you. I want to find out the information on your sheet, obviously, if you got any big news. But again, thank you,
Yeah,
and
yeah, for sure.
look
I
forward
mean,
to
I
it.
mean, I'm doing well in terms of NBA right now. Baseball, I'm doing well, but really, my guys play like a lot of my guys play casino, and
Hmm.
then they're waiting for football. They're
Yeah,
playing casino, they're waiting for football. I know that a lot of my guys are going to play poker once that happens. I think that Newsom shut down the poker rooms in California, and so I think a lot of guys are just waiting. We're going to have another online golden age of poker here because I don't see how those come back the way that they were. You know, so
yeah.
we'll
I
see.
that's a whole other tomato to look at, honestly. So I guess
Yeah,
we
it's
can cover
huge.
that. We can cover that in the next show.
Yeah, yeah, definitely,
All right.
definitely.
Well, good deal. Good
All
deal.
right,
Again,
man.
appreciate it. Hope you have a great day over there, and we'll be in touch.
All right, have a good one.
Thanks.
Bye.
Thanks for tuning into the Reds podcast, brought to you by Paperhead.com. For all relative promos going on right now, please check them out at Paperhead.com. Also, opinion expressed on this show are not that of Paperhead.com. And if you do like what you hear, for all the agent news coming up, please like, subscribe, and follow. We will see you next week.